Yo guys, what is going on? JPS back for another video, and today we're going to be reacting to Winston Churchill, an animated biography of Britain's Prime Minister during World War II. Now, I'm always interested in learning about history, especially when it comes to World War II. We've reacted to multiple videos on that, and it's super interesting to hear about how you guys have connected histories with World War II. But yeah, I don't know too much about Churchill. I would be lying to you guys if I said I was an expert on Churchill and his role. All I know is that he was a prime minister from the title, but I also knew that. Anyways, so yeah, let's get into it and learn. Hopefully our memory of Churchill will be rejuvenated, because I'm sure I learned about him in school but just forgot, because you don't retain any information after like 3 years. Okay, anyways, let's go. Oh, by the way, hit the like button and subscribe if you are new.
Hi, and welcome to Captivating History. In this video, you will discover some fascinating facts about the life of Winston Churchill. But first, let's look at what this little guy has in store for us in this video.
The heck?
Yep, you guessed it, a book on Winston Churchill from Captivating History. So, in case you, after watching this video, feel as if your tummy is starving for more information on how to refuse to give in, deliver jaw-dropping speeches, and keep a whiskey going on through the day. Anyway, check the link in the description for more information about the book. All right, let's get into it. As a British politician who was well known for serving twice as Prime Minister for the United Kingdom, and as an infamous war organizer, leader Winston S. Churchill filled his long life with achievements and recognition plotted throughout every modern history book. Most famously, he led Great Britain into victory over Nazi Germany during World War II in his first run as Prime Minister. He also played an essential role in negotiating peace once the war reached an unsteady end. Commonly, his name is associated as one of the Big Three, alongside United States President Franklin D. Roosevelt and Soviet Union leader Joseph Stalin.
So yeah, that's something I wanted to mention. Like, I've heard Churchill's name thrown around so much just throughout my life. You know, he's such a prominent historical figure, and I feel so dumb when I'm saying like, oh, I don't know too much about him. It's the truth though. It's just I never learned much about him. The most I've learned about him is in the videos I react to about history and stuff. But yeah, that's crazy.
In unity, the three men helped lead the world to a resolution from the violence and terror that reigned in World War II. Winston Leonard Spencer Churchill was born on November 30th, 1874, at Blenheim Palace in Oxfordshire, England, into the influential and aristocratic family of the Dukes of Marlborough. Churchill later moved and called Dublin, Ireland, his home from ages 2 to 6. It was here in Dublin that Churchill began the earliest stages of his education, in which his governess instructed him in those noble pursuits of history, literature, writing, and mathematics. Growing older, Churchill passed the age of in-home learning and moved toward boarding school. During his childhood education, Churchill maintained a poor academic record.
For real?
From an early age, Churchill expressed a heavy interest in military history and affairs. His earliest surviving letter comprises a military scene filled with flags, castles, and toy soldiers, which Churchill particularly loved and collected. He amassed an army of around 1,500 Napoleonic-era toy soldiers, which he played with often during his self-simulated battles. Therefore, it was no surprise that Churchill began his military career soon after entering Harrow School in April of 1888. While at Harrow, he told his friend Merlin Evans, "I tell you, I shall be in command of the defenses in London, in the high position I shall occupy. It will fall to me to save the capital and save the empire." Churchill began his military service.
Isn't that crazy how he called it? Telling you, confidence is key. If you believe you can do something. Wow.
To save the capital and save the empire. Churchill began his military service for real in 1895 by spending a short amount of time in the Cuban War for Independence. After that, Churchill soon headed toward Bombay, British India, in 1896, where he served as both a soldier and a journalist on the northwest frontier. Many scholars, namely Keith Robbins and John Charley, believe that Churchill formed his own education, one unstifled by the university's restrictions and professors' personal leanings during this time in India. He read important works and developed his own thoughts without supervising guidance,
Nice.
Continuing this educational pattern, Churchill took copies of parliamentary debates from the last few generations, which he received from his mother, and noted his opinions on each issue before reading over the debates and recording his opinions again. In this way, Churchill developed argumentative skills through self-learning, skills that he would employ later in government positions and during his public speeches. Although he lost his first attempt to enter Parliament in 1899, Churchill's famous escape from a group of Boer soldiers during the Second Boer War tipped the scales his way during the following year. After winning the seat at Oldham in the 1900 general election, Churchill employed his great oratory skills as he traveled throughout Great Britain and the United States of America on a speaking tour.
Yo, that's crazy. Like, so much of being a politician is just speaking. Yeah, I'm not going to drop any names, but we have some politicians in the United States of America who... Let's just go. You guys are going to... Let's go.
During this time, he managed to collect £10,000.
Not the best
Churchill
speaker.
gained association with a faction of the Conservative Party in Parliament.
Another thing, the Conservative Party in the UK is kind of like the Democrats in America. A lot of Americans are like, when they hear conservative, they're like, oh, so there's Republicans in the UK? No. I'm pretty sure. Let me know in the comments if I'm right. If I'm wrong, I sound really dumb. Anyways, let's go.
Churchill gained association with a faction of the Conservative Party in Parliament under the lead of Lord Hugh Cecil. Soon after joining governmental ranks, Churchill began transitioning from the Conservative Party to the Liberal Party. In the months before his changeover to the Liberal Party, Churchill, as a proponent of free trade, helped to found the Free Food League and spoke against the principles of protectionism, arguing that to think you can make a man richer by putting on a tax is like a man thinking he can stand in a bucket and lift himself up by the handle. In 1938,
That's true, yeah.
when the Germans had begun inching into a controlling over its neighbors, Churchill made public his critique for Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain's policy of Nazi appeasement, claiming that he was not doing enough to turn from the current and inevitable path. Great Britain declared war on Germany on September 3, 1939, and Churchill gained the title First Lord of the Admiralty and was given membership to the War Cabinet. In 1940, Churchill became chairman of the Military Coordinating Committee. Neville Chamberlain quickly lost popularity and confidence, and King George VI appointed Churchill.
I like how his eyebrows. Look at Neville Chamberlain's eyebrows right here. Look at this.
Neville Chamberlain quickly lost popularity.
But yeah, I find it's super interesting how Churchill is slowly moving up in the ranks. That's how you do it.
In confidence, and King George VI appointed Churchill as Prime Minister and Minister of Defense on May 10th, on the day the phony war ended.
This brilliant binocular telescope is taking the world by storm.
Churchill spoke to the House of Commons on June 18, 1940, and warned that the Battle of France was over and the Battle of Britain would soon begin. Before the period known as the Battle of Britain, Churchill said, "We shall fight in France. We shall fight on the seas and oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We will fight on the beaches. We will fight on the landing grounds. We will fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We will never surrender."
That's hype. Yeah, that speech gets you ready to run through a brick wall or something. There's Hitler.
At every turn, Churchill reminded Great Britain that Nazism was the primary enemy, keeping the resistance alive. He curated the foundation for alliances with the Soviet Union and the United States. Previously, Churchill and the United States President Franklin D. Roosevelt cultivated a relationship in the 1930s. Therefore, Churchill found aid from the United States in that they could order war goods from the U.S. on credit through the Lend-Lease Act. As the war came to a close, Winston S. Churchill proposed plans for social reforms in Great Britain, but the general public did not support his ideas, although Churchill, of course, continued to impact world affairs over the next 6 years. On May 23, 1945, Winston S. Churchill resigned from his position as Prime Minister. Winston S. Churchill was not done with government, though. He was chosen as the leader for the opposition party and held the reins for 6 years. Even after he lost the election of 1950, he continued to lead his party. During a trip to the United States in 1946, Churchill delivered his Iron Curtain speech, in which he warned of the dangers imposed by the USSR and the Eastern Bloc. In October 1951, Winston S. Churchill once again found himself within the position of Prime Minister, which lasted until his resignation in April 1955. After retirement, Churchill spent most of his time at Chartwell House in Kent or Hyde Park Gate in London. During this era of his life, he passed many of his days delving into the high society of the French Riviera. On January 15, 1965, Winston S. Churchill had a severe stroke at his London home at the age of 90, and he died on January 24, 19...
Yo, these ads are so annoying,
Over
bro.
the age of 50, cheese can leave a permanent mark on the brain.
65.
Okay, first of all, rest in peace. Seriously, that's sad, but what the heck was that ad? He had a severe stroke, but it looks like he lived a long life, so that's awesome. Oh, that's his wife right there. That's him. That's a long life. That's almost 100 years. 90 years. Wow. 91 years.
90, and he died on January 24, 1965. Often, people feel they know much about Churchill as a servant to his country from easily attained and general information. But they know little about Churchill's personal life. Churchill was a husband, a father, a painter, and a historian, among many other things. While he also maintains the status of a war hero and prime minister, he was much more in life. His aspirations and desires were a large part of who he was and how he attained his goals. Now, you probably know more about Churchill than 90% of the population.
Why 90%? Yeah, I just learned a lot about Churchill, I'll tell you that much. I'm curious though, what do you guys think of Churchill? I know most of you probably weren't. Some of you maybe were alive, but most of you probably weren't alive during his reign as Prime Minister. Well, multiple reigns, obviously, but what do you think of him? Obviously, a lot of that is going to be covered in presentism because, you know, it's easy to be critical of historical figures in the past, but I don't know. I'm curious. What are you guys' opinions? I think he did a good job, you know, fighting off the Nazis and helping to prevent the spread of communism with that speech in the U.S. in 1951, I think is what they said. But I don't know. It's hard. It's very hard to, you know, give like a solid opinion when you don't have too much to go off of, because most of the information I have is from this video. So yeah, super interesting video. I'm definitely glad we checked it out. Keep recommending stuff like this. I really enjoy stuff like that. But yeah, I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one. Peace.